Yarana Fahotato. Hello again to all of us. This is another story. It's also from Tonga. It's about the assassination of a king in Tonga named Tukuaho, and the part that a man named Kepa played in the assassination. 1797, there was this king in Tonga, his name was Mui, and he died. And his title passed to his son Tukuaho. And the title was Tuikanuku Polu. Okay, and that was like the highest, the Tuikanuku Polu, that chief, that's the highest ranking chief in Tonga. And so basically Tukuaho was the king of Tonga. And in his family, okay, Tukuaho's father, and Tukuaho's grandfather was married to had two wives. One wife was higher ranking than the other, and Tukuaho was descended from the lower ranking wife. And so his cousins, who were from the higher ranking wife, they didn't like him, and they badmouthed him, and that creates problems. Okay, it should not happen, but it does. They badmouthed Tukuaho, and in 1799, after 2 years of him being the king, there are these two chiefs in Vava'u, Fina'ulu-Kalala and Tuponua. And they made the plan they would kill Tukuaho. And their plan was that on the night, there was a ceremony they had each year called the Inasi, which means the sharing. It's like they take the first fruits of the harvest to the king, something like that. And that on the night of the Inasi, they would kill Tukuaho. And the plan was that Tuponua, he would go into the house of Tukuaho that night with his club, and when he found Tukuaho, he would kill him, club him to death. But the problem that Tuponua had was, it's dark, and all these people would sleep in the same house, in the same room, and there wasn't any light. And so Tuponua's plan was that he would go into the house with his club, and he would smell the people who were sleeping. Because Tukuaho, when he went to sleep at night, he was rubbed with a special oil, and it had a fragrance that was unique to that oil. So if you knew the smell of the oil, you could find Tukuaho in the dark. And so that was Tuponua's plan. The problem was that there was a servant of the king. His name was Kepa. I mentioned him at the beginning of the story. And Kepa, he knew about the plan to assassinate his master, the king. But Kepa had his own problem. He was friends with Tuponua. If he told, some people say Kepa was a noble, that he wasn't a servant, he was a noble from Vava'u. The problem he had was, since he was friends with Tuponua, if he told Tukuaho about the plan to assassinate him, then Tuponua would die. But if Kepa said nothing, then his master Tukuaho would die. So he had two choices, and both of them were bad. But he came up with a third option, with a third choice. On the night of the Inasi, when the king Tukuaho went to bed, Kepa was there. He took the bottle of oil, and he rubbed himself with the oil. And then he lay down next to Tukuaho. So he had the smell of the king. And he lay there, probably fully awake. And Tuponua came into the house with his club, and he was going through the house, and he was smelling people, smelling them. And he came to the place where Kepa was lying down, and Tuponua he smelled him, and he thought it was Tukuaho. So Tuponua, he took his club and he killed Kepa. And Kepa, he was killed. His plan would have worked, except Tukuaho, he heard the sound of the clubbing, and he woke up. And he said, "Kohaoku henna, koaoko Tukuaho." Who is there? It is I, Tukuaho. And Tuponua, he realized he'd made a mistake and killed the wrong person. So he killed Tukuaho. So Tukuaho died, and so did Kepa. And there's a poem about this guy, Kepa, and this is how the poem goes. Tauwhei mo whi valeake, ye kepa I tangata o wheaki. Ko manuka I whale lahi, I hei vae o he lala fui tahi. Peheange na aku I ai, ka tau vae ua hano mamahi. Which means, let's talk and be happy about Kepa, a man who is well loved. He died in the house of the king at the feet of Helala Fuitahi. I say I wish I was there, but we do share in his pain. These words are done. There's a moral in this story. Kepa, he had two choices. Both were very bad. Either the king dies or his friend dies. The only way he could free himself from these two bad choices was to give up something of his own, to give up his life. And so sometimes we got bad choices, but we can find a way through, but we're going to have to be willing to give up something. Another thing is that this poem about this guy, I say I wish I was there, but we do share in his pain. I think that part of being Tongan, at least one part, is to know this story and to feel sad for this guy and how he sacrificed. But it was a waste. But you know, it's been 200 years. We're still telling his story because of his sacrifice. So maybe he lives forever through these stories. Ko hope te reko.